Welcome to Blamestorming. Blamestorming. In a post-truth world, there's plenty of blame to go around. 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 Join Dave Cyrus and Marissa Smith as they blamestorm about today's hot topics.
Hey guys, welcome to Blamestorming. I'm Marissa Smith. I've got a pantsless Dave Cyrus with me.
Hey.
Joining us today is Wendy Starling.
How's it going?
And Tim Warner.
Say hi, Tim.
Hey, how? That's the best I can do right now.
I'm sorry, Tim. You're too punk to be this freaked out by my pants being
I'm
off.
not freaked out. It's just it's so great.
It's hot in here.
Like
This
with
is-
donuts, and it's great.
So, like, even the people watching the video, they probably cannot see, but Dave opted to go pantsless today. Dave, do you want to tell people about your pantsless decision?
Yeah, it seems like a pretty obvious one. It's too hot in here. We're in a very nice studio, yet it is. Yet what we have.
But you're going to put
Well,
your
there's-
drawers on the seats because
there's
we're in a
a
very nice studio.
Yeah, well, that is really not my decision. The decision was made by whoever's office in this building actually controls the thermostat, and he feels that his office has too much. He has too much cold compared to the rest of it, so all the other offices are extremely hot because one guy who is in control of it has, like, I don't know, an iron problem or something. That's really what's happening here.
Yeah.
It's really hard to explain how much hotter this room is than it should be for a building like this.
No, it
So
is hot.
I can't really do this show like wearing full clothes. And I kept the shirt on because, we're on camera. And I don't mind people seeing my legs. But I feel like it'd be rude if I was shirtless.
Right, it's rude because then people, instead of listening, will just be masturbating.
Yeah, they're just going to be jacking off to Dave's chest. So, Dave, how have you been? You've been away for a while.
Oh, good. Yeah, I was in LA a little bit, and I was in Syracuse, where I come from, where I went to college, which was cool. Hanging out on some movie set I'm barely involved with, just because I got work to do, and then I went to the taping of the Roast Battle TV show that I was not involved in, but then was slightly involved in because I was writing jokes for somebody in it. So that'll be out soon. You can see me there. On my phone the whole time.
Was that the Bruce Willis roast?
No, the Roast Battle show.
Oh, the Roast Battle show.
Yeah.
Got it.
So I was at the Roast Battle finale taping because I was doing a little work on that. And if you watch, you can literally see me in the audience not watching the show because I'm texting about the show in live because everything's happening. I gotta for rebuttals and stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
You're my favorite person because as long as I've known you, you're always doing really cool shit. And a lot of it is your own projects, but then sometimes it's you're doing really cool shit. It's how'd you get there? I just knew somebody and I happened to be there.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, yeah, with this one, I was up for the show and then I did not get it. So the Roast Battle TV show. So then, they asked a friend of mine to do something on it. They asked Pete to judge, so I went with him. That was cool, and I'm of course, especially with roast related stuff. I usually pretty much everything we write together. So I was there to just support and ghostwrite as usual.
Yeah. They're if you could sit right in the main shot of a camera, and if you could do your rebuttals from there, that'd be great.
Well, what happened was they did put me in the main shot, and then they were and I was okay, just so you know, I'm gonna be on my phone the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm okay, well then you can't be on your phone. You're literally one of the main audience people that we're gonna see. And I was well, put me where I can be on my phone.
Right. You're
Yeah.
because I am working.
So you can still kind of see me, especially because we're looking at each other the whole time. But it's basically us just workshopping jokes in the moment and to see what he would say. I sat next to Morgan Murphy. That was cool.
Ooh, she's so funny.
She was always my go-to example of when people say women aren't funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's amazing.
She's so funny and good hair on that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She has a giant mane of what I would consider Jew hair. I don't think she's Jewish, but still, that's what it is.
Yeah. I'm not Jewish, and I got Jew hair. It gets curly, and it gets puffy, and I get told that I have Jew hair all the time. All the time, I should say.
All the time.
What are you, Jewish? Your hair's all Jewed up.
So, Wendy, how have you been?
Great. I'm all jacked up on these donuts. Thank you for bringing donuts.
Yeah, so I've had such a hard time figuring out a snack for this because, you guys have been, to Big Talk and Brewski, so I bring beer to that. And I'm a big proponent of bringing snacks to the podcast, and this show has been a challenge. But like, I know the two of you, so like, I knew I could trust you with snacks because like I've tried so many things, cupcakes, but like nobody ate the cupcakes, so then I ended up going home with cupcakes. I'm like, I can't eat 3 cupcakes in a week, like that's too much. Then I tried cookies, but one of the comics like bit the cookie.
Rob
and
Ryan took the first cookie out of the sleeve, bit half of it, and put it back in the sleeve, and now we can't have cookies anymore.
Who is this?
Rob Ryan.
he ruined cookies for the show.
He claimed to be completely unaware that he was doing it, which I mean, I'd like to believe. Otherwise, he's a much worse person.
But he
Right.
doesn't do drugs or drink, so
That's why. Yeah.
I like, how do you not know that you just bit a cookie and put it back in the sleeve?
Yeah, but I also am currently on a break from drugs and alcohol, and I know when I'm being a cunt and like putting, biting, like licking food and putting it back in because it's in a plastic. What kind of cookies were they?
I'm so glad you
They
said
were-
break and not quit.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
I got them from, what is that pastry shop, like Financier Bakery or whatever?
That is my favorite bakery because it's just like we sell baked goods, but we're for rich people.
Yeah.
It's like it's not like a bakery name, a financier.
Yes. So like I got like chocolate chip cookies from there. And I wasn't gonna name him, but Rob ruined
Ryan.
it. Rob ruined it. Then I brought in the Bark Thins, which are those like chocolates that like, and so I thought
Well, those
that's
are great, but like it takes like weeks to get through a bag of those. Like
that's not even the problem. The problem is that one of our guests, I went to the bathroom with her. After we went to the bathroom, she washed her hands. She took paper towels, then wiped her armpits with the paper towels, did not wash her hands after wiping her armpits, and then went back into the Bark Thins, which ruined the Bark Thins for the show.
Well, and with a bag snack like that, not to be the mom of this operation, you don't dig your fucking hands in. You dump it out like you dump it out of the bag.
No,
Wait,
like after armpit wipe, she went straight in after not even wiping the hand, and I'm like, well, this is done for bag snacks.
and it's
then,
really funny because I don't know this story, but just thinking of every guest we have, I'm 100% sure which one of them was a woman who would do that. I'm not going to say it. That'd be meaner.
okay.
It was Rob Ryan.
Yeah, so then that ruined it. But then when you guys came in, I'm like, oh, people I know and trust, I can bring snacks.
Yes, and we've all been sharing,
And we've been cutting and sharing,
And
and no one's cross-contaminating
I even
anything.
gave some to Caleb.
You know, like, this is why I booked you guys, because I can trust you with snacks.
Thank you.
So, Tim, how have you been?
Phenomenal.
Tim was just in Zuccotti Park. Brought up a lot of memories.
Yeah, crying for 20 minutes.
Now, you
having
actually
tears.
performed at Occupy.
Yeah, day 5.
How'd you get that?
I was asked by there were 3 gentlemen who wrote the Constitution for Occupy. One of them seen me perform and loved what I did. So they called my girlfriend at the time to find me to come down to Zuccotti, and I had no clue what they were doing. I was like, Zuccotti, why the hell would I go? I'd never heard of it because I don't come down the financial district. I fucking loathe this area with all my heart. I
You mean-
fucking hate it.
You don't shop at Financier Bakery
No.
for all your fine baked goods needs.
Not at all.
Only for the chocolate chip cookies.
Not
Come
at
on.
all. I get my chocolate chip cookies from work for free. And so then I came down here, I performed, and then I fell in love with just the idea. And then I hung out the whole time, basically, until the end.
Yeah, there was an ignominious end. And Occupy was the thing to me where, like, I was very upsetting because it seemed like a great opportunity where we really could have had some kind of concrete change.
100%.
That got kind of ruined by just
People.
It got ruined by people, and it really showed us a real-world example of why a complete lack of elitism doesn't work.
Yeah, but it did show me, like, for example, before that, there was the Tea Party movement that happened. And when you watch the Tea Party movement on the news and whatever else, they would show all the fucking weirdos and whatever else. And it's like, oh, fuck the Tea Party. And then you go down to Zuccotti, and I'd watch, like, Fox News or CBS, whatever, and they would be taping people, and they'd be taping the dumbest, weirdest, I don't even want to say eccentric because that makes them sound good, but like all the dummies of Occupy they were taping and filming,
Right.
and then that makes it look like, so then it made me wonder about the Tea Party, where it was like could this have maybe
Well,
been a good idea?
The Tea Party had official stances that were disgusting.
So-
They
yes,
did have
yes,
official their beliefs that they actually delineated were things you should be against.
yes.
The thing with Zuccotti was it was both true and untrue. Yes, the news was specifically going there, especially Fox News was going there with the express purpose of find me the craziest asshole there
100%.
and make him a representation of it.
Yes.
At the same time, as Occupy continued, it did attract all the crazy people
Yes.
simply because it was an event. And it was one of those things where do you really blame the initial people for the fact that it attracted every homeless person, every mental patient? Because it's just a thing. It's a thing to go to. And what ruined it...
Well, dude, cops were also dropping off people
Oh,
from
yeah?
Rikers.
That's
They were
funny.
dropping them off at Zuccotti.
Well, that doesn't
You
help
know,
either.
there was a little mix and match with that. I
But
mean, yes, there were the weirdos that came on their own, but there's also authorities that brought weirdos as well.
Oh, sure. But at the same time, I mean, I was basically saying that you can't blame the movement itself for the fact that it's going to attract weird people.
Mhm.
100%.
Because anything like that, any event would have attracted some of those people.
Mhm.
And you had a thing where, and what happened to Occupy that was really sad was as more and more people came there because of the event itself and not because of the reason it existed.
100%.
Talking about economic change, it became less about economic change and about the right to live in a park forever.
Right.
And that was a perversion of the reason to be there. And that
Mhm.
I think really threw away. Like if they had said, "We will leave when Congress reverses Citizens United," it probably would have happened. They probably could have gotten that. They could have gotten Citizens United overturned.
They didn't want any leadership. Like no one wanted
Right.
to like
The
Right.
hatred
have
of
it.
leadership meant
yeah.
that nothing was going to happen.
My
Right.
my biggest thing was the Federal Reserve Act of 1913, and it was at a time when I think it was like a year before, where it was like 100 years after the fact. If we could reverse the Federal Reserve Act and then make the Federal Reserve a part of the government, where they would at least have to answer. I'm not saying things would get better, but you could at least be able to charge them with things,
Right.
be able to have them. That was that was my biggest thing
And
with
unfortunately,
Occupy.
the movement, there was literally not one demand that they could agree on. That
Yes.
was what was very sad about it. Because
Yes.
what we were seeing was this, and it's like I said, you can't blame a movement on its worst examples, but when you don't have leadership, that's what's going to happen.
Yep.
You're going to give just as much voice to the worst person there as the most qualified to talk about it. And and it got very frustrating because everyone I talked to, and I was interviewing people at both the LA and New York Occupies, everyone wanted to talk about the right to be there. Very few people like you wanted to act like some people they were talking about the Fairness Doctrine and the Glass-Steagall Act,
Yep.
and they were actually talking about real things.
Yep.
But most of the people I talked to, and I was trying to give them a voice, to just say, this is not just crazy people. Even if they are crazy people, some of them know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Just
Just
you're
because you're
wearing a cape and a
crazy
helmet,
does't mean that you're stupid.
well, I mean, by crazy, just because you're walking around in a cape and a helmet because you're like, oh, this is a fun thing to do, and you're playing hacky sack, doesn't mean you don't know actually why you're here.
Right.
But I kept asking people, it kept being about, we have a right to be here. And I'm like, but that's not what this is about.
Yeah.
And and someone else was saying, well, we're showing that you can have a society without a monetary system. I'm like, okay, go fuck yourself. If you're trying to make that into this,
Yeah.
then you're going to live off
Yeah,
fucking
as
donations
they're wearing-
forever.
Yeah.
As they're wearing Nikes and Levi's and smoking Marlboros, and they're
Right.
saying we can't live in a
When they
monetary.
s-
Fuck
yeah,
you.
when they
Yeah.
started
That was
saying-
the thing with me.
When they started saying we're just going to make Zuccotti Park a permanent settlement, I was like, you just threw away
Yeah.
the entire world's goodwill toward this,
Mhm.
and with the potential to do something with it. And you threw it away on your own selfish desires
Yes.
to live in the park forever. By making it about we're going to be here forever, and when they start putting military tents and just saying we're going to take this, let's be fair, private property.
Right.
And say
And
it's
it is.
ours, you screwed over everyone. And I said to people, they were like, well, I believe that, this movement is important enough that we should suspend the private property rules of Zuccotti Park. I was like, okay, I'm not going to deny that. This one park isn't more important than getting this message out. But then I said to the person, I was like, okay, so you have people living there right now, right? And you're saying you want to ignore the property rights. What if I went there and I said and I picked a spot that someone was already living on and said, I live here now? Why would they get property rights?
Right.
Why would they be given a right you're not willing to give someone else? When people say we want a public land, like it just wasn't thought through.
And
With
we blame the people.
right. Yeah. But like with the library was a
Yeah.
good example of something. Yeah, they had a library, which was
Yes.
great,
Yes.
but then they cleared out the place, and no one took the library because no one had the infrastructure to do so. No one arranged to get a truck to move the books, so they put the books in they took the books to like the garbage where recycling areas,
Right.
and they said, if you want them, take them. Otherwise, we're going to throw them out. And people are like, you're book burning. Okay, you just threw away a real argument. It's not book burn. If you leave a book on the sidewalk and they throw it out, that's not what censorship is, you fucking children. And it really destroyed a lot of what Occupy should have done.
Should have, yes. Yeah, it
And
could have been
showed you
amazing.
need
It
leadership.
could have
You
been
need
amazing.
structure and leadership and not be a bunch of goddamn kids and let people make change. When senators came there and said, we've heard you, what can I do to help? What did they do? They said, no. They did not have an answer.
What?
Their answer was, get the fuck out of here. Fuck you. They were children about it. Not everyone, but the problem is if you let anyone have a voice, the
Right.
children are going to rise up and ruin it, you know? And that's like what Trump is now. Trump is the first movement to be like, no, we want those people in charge.
He's the only child of America.
Yeah. Well, he wants all the children, all the people who shouldn't have a voice, all the people who shouldn't be in charge to say, to reverse, you know, the order of the society.
So, Tim, how
Yeah.
long were you at Occupy?
From day 5 until they all swarmed in, and with dump trucks, cops, and SWAT teams, and everything
So,
else.
approximately how long was that?
I want to say 4 months,
It's
maybe
gotta be a long
5.
time,
Okay.
yeah. You lived there?
I did a 3-night stint like Woodstock.
He's like, no, I'm not an asshole. I went home where I had plumbing.
Well, no, because I did get a lot of shit for that, so I stayed 3 nights
See,
in a
no,
row.
even that to me, and I, to be honest, like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't pay attention that much, but that seems also counterproductive.
Shouldn't
Like
you
if you're going there to help and be there during the day when there are rallies, because if the point is we're trying to make changes,
Yeah.
Right.
and then for you to be like, hey, I'm going to come here and perform, and then I'm going to, help, and then when I go
Dude,
home,
I
I'm going to
gave
go home to my
clothes,
place at night, and then when you leave, and they're like, you fucking poser.
Yeah,
And it's like,
I got that
so
a lot.
it's this attitude, and that just from what Dave was describing, and it is the leadership thing is crazy. That always drove me crazy. And I know there's like a joke that people would always say in school. We're like, yeah, we're gonna have start the meeting, the anarchist club.
Right.
Who knows when the meetings, right? Like,
right.
So, but then like, okay, these are the meetings, and this is the president of it. It's like a joke in like junior high that you
Yes.
start making. But it's like, so that's where it makes it more difficult to have a movement because no one's in charge. And then they get real cunty, and it's like you're either with us or you're against
Yeah.
us. And it's like when you start behaving it right now.
And I even had comics like that would give clothes and blankets and whatever else, and we came down in a van and we gave shit. Like I did a lot for them, and then it was just like, yeah, but have you slept here? And it was
Right.
like, really?
Those
All right, fine.
people-
I'll fucking sleep here.
Those are the
What?
people. Those
I've been
specific-
homeless. Like it
That's
doesn't
crazy.
it doesn't
Those
matter to me.
people are the people who did not care
Yeah.
at all
Yeah.
about change. This was about them, and this was about Occupy was really, it was like a microcosm of what happened with a lot of, which kind of poisoned our side of politics, of this idea that no one actually wanted things to get better. They just wanted to personally be above a certain number of people. And they start using all these things that were designed to make things better, lack of racism, calling out things,
Yeah.
trying to be better people, and they just made it a game of I'm better than you.
And I'm very
threw
glad-
all the Rogan fans away from the Democratic Party
Yeah.
in doing so.
And I'm very glad that like the Instagrams and all of that wasn't as huge, because
Right.
it would have been a fucking such a number of selfies of people like,
Just
look
like,
at me in my
yeah.
tent and
Yeah.
look at like
Right.
I'm so glad it wasn't at that point, because it would have been so much worse. But to see it pop up all over the country just from one dumb simple idea, and to see it in St. Louis and Philadelphia and Syracuse and LA and Seattle and et cetera, even across the pond and whatever else, that to me is pretty fucking amazing.
It was
But
amazing.
it was a fucking.
A complete waste.
It's like jerking
yeah.
off on coke.
It
You're
was
just not
massive.
gonna
So, like,
It
if,
come.
if Tim
Yeah.
today...
It was masturbation.
Yeah.
So if Tim today could go
Yeah.
back into the
Oh.
future to like Tim sitting in Occupy right now, what would you tell him to tell the people? Like now you know what's down the pike. You know Trump is going to be in office. You know what
Ooh.
you're looking at, and you know that they have so much untapped potential that they could actually prevent this. Like, what would you tell them?
Do you realize there's gonna have to be bloodshed?
That's a good point.
Like that's. Do you realize? Like this is great,
really
but do you
want this.
realize?
Yeah.
Like if you want this, do you realize there's going to have to be bloodshed?
You can't-
That's and are you ready for that?
You
Like, it's
can't-
one
yeah.
thing to sit here in your fucking Levi's and your Nikes and your Marlboros and say, I hate the 1%. But do you realize in order to have it really be for the people again, there is going to have to be bloodshed?
You can't change the world by playing hacky sack in the park. You
I
gotta
agree.
Get your hands
I
dirty.
agree.
And I'm
agree.
not saying we should have a violent revolution, but what the people were there for is something you weren't going to have without that.
Yes.
With the people who were there who were really saying,
Yeah.
I was not saying I wanted that. I wanted small changes. I wanted just a few laws to change that would make more regulation for Wall Street, that would that would make it less of a job to get rich off of, basically being a banker, and get rid of the idea that corporations are people. That would have been
Which is so huge in laws now, where corporations are able to allow to vote.
the cascade
Right.
Like,
effect
they
you
can
could have
vote.
had
Yes.
by getting rid of
Yes.
that one law.
Yes.
It could have been so great.
Huge.
And what I saw,
And I think, again, having the Federal Reserve, granted, I don't think anything would be done, but to be able to have them the same way that Roger Clemens and all of them, when they were on steroids in baseball, they had to go up in front of fucking Congress. The Federal Reserve never gets to go up in front of anyone to go, hey, wait a minute, you're fucking wrong here with your regulations. You're wrong here with, oh shit, I can't think of words right now.
well, I mean, there was leniency. There was just
Well,
so
yeah, but even printing of money, even you're going to do like housing numbers, you're going to do economy, whatever else. It's all based on whatever you guys say, and you're a separate entity of the government. The only way, like, my whole thing is, yes, we have freedom, but they tell you it's freedom when you're born, but you're in a prison. We are all slaves. The fact that there is a federal income tax, the fact that our government, in order to get money, we go to the Federal Reserve, we give them bonds. The bonds comes on interest. And in order to pay the interest back, we need them to make more money, which makes more interest, which means we are never going to be out of debt, means we're always, all of us, even the 1%, the 99%, we are all slaves to this idea of forever interest.
which I'm fine with. I just want a little more regulation.
Yes, exactly,
I'm actually-
exactly.
I'll accept that system.
Yeah.
Just have a little more oversight.
Yes.
Right.
And the fact that they can do whatever they want because they're a separate entity, that bothers me. That bothers me that they're separate. And then on top of it, money is just a belief system. Like Trump, there was a thing, I don't know, maybe earlier in the week, the GDP is up 4.1%. That money is just a belief system. So what that says to me is there's no gold standards. There's nothing that it's equated to. So what that says to me is the world and our country believes in Trump more than
Well, it's even worse than
Obama and whoever else.
It's even worse than what you're saying, because what we're actually just seeing is the effect of what happens temporarily when you try to prime the pump on an already well-working economy. Like the concept of overstimulation doesn't exist, but that's because he doesn't care about what actually happens. He cares about how he looks right now, today.
Right.
So the idea that the GDP is up, that's always going to happen when you start being hawkish about the economy at first, but we already had an economy doing well. And by the way, just as a side thing, they constantly talk about the economy. Sarah Sanders today said, she basically admitted that when Trump says fake news, what he really means is, why don't you just only talk about how great he is? And as if it's fake to talk about real things that he did that are negative. But at the same time, these are the people saying, don't talk about the many, many horrible things Trump has done because the economy's doing well. Meanwhile, these are the same people who hated Obama to the point of wanting to have him crucified when he had the greatest economic recovery in world history. And now their answer to that is, in American history, their answer to that is, well, it was also the slowest economic recovery. Are you really going to work that hard to find a way to criticize the straight line upward from Bush to Trump?
It was like a week ago, I put up a dumb post on Facebook. I think we're now at maybe 900 or 899. But at the time, I was like 907 days until Trump, his first term is over. And I had, and then I said, unless the Russians vote for him again.
Right.
Right. Ha ha ha. So then I had a bunch of people write in, and one dude wrote, he does sales. And under Obama, he got, I think, 2% up in sales. But under Trump, he's like 18 to 20%. So now it's a personal thing. It's not necessarily the economy.
Well,
but he
actually, no,
gave all this credit to Trump and the economy, and it was just it's such a flawed argument.
Because no one else lost a job. Not
Right.
Like, not like everyone who has a job buys steel from China isn't doing bad.
Thank you. Yeah.
And also that guy, I actually know who you're talking about. He exclusively sells crosses.
Yeah.
The giant wooden one soaked in kerosene.
Right.
So yeah, he's doing great.
I was about to say burning crosses.
That's what I was getting at. Yeah.
I had this conversation with my mother, who I love very much. She voted for Trump, but it's like this. We think about the one where people in their brains are like, "I'm right," and either you're 100% with me. We're talking. She was like, "Well, the economy," and I go, and I like stopped. I was on a run, and I stopped, and I started to like scream, cry, and I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna try to have a rational conversation."
Right.
And I said, "I understand the economy's doing well, but like you said, it's all the emperor's new clothes." When I was in elementary school, they were like, "We're gonna practice the stock market," and I remember when they were explaining to us, so the Federal Reserve does this, and I remember I was like a little kid, and I'm like, "This sounds like a lot of bullshit," and I remember being like, in my mind, I was thinking like, "Wait." But so if we all don't believe what this guy from the Fed says, then this doesn't actually matter. And the whole class looked at me and the teacher was like, okay, if you don't want to participate, you got to stop causing problems. I was kicked out of church. But my mom, she goes, well, the economy, and I said, even if, say it is because he's a great businessman, he's good with money. I said, even if those things are all true, I go, he's still, because I was talking about his moral character and how he's a monster. And she's like, well, but the economy. And I'm like, no. And I said, even if he's a phenomenal businessman and he's
not.
Right, which he's not because he's gone bankrupt so many times.
Right.
I go, even if that were true, he can still also be a giant piece of trash and have zero morality and be a racist, cunty, asshole, Nazi.
Right.
I'm like, those two things can both be true, but it's so frustrating to try to have a conversation with anybody because they're like, no, it's either all good or it's all bad. And it's a nightmare.
There's no middle ground.
They just lied and said Obama's economy wasn't good. Meanwhile, we created more new jobs in 2016 than 2017.
Right.
That is a fact. Job growth went up more in 2016 2017. Wage growth went down from 2017 to 2016. So that is proof immediately. And it's not that that's saying that's a bad economy. The economy was already doing so good that there weren't that many new jobs you could get overall.
Right.
But the problem was these were the same people saying, look how Trump turned the economy around. And, well, he didn't. The economy's started to dip comparatively to the previous year. They're liars.
Mm-hmm.
They're people who will say literally anything to avoid being exposed for backing a con man.
I know I'm white, but I've never had a president affect my day.
Yeah.
Never.
Right, and yeah, exactly.
Never.
As a white person, we don't have to deal with it on the same level.
But I've never had it. Never. I go about my day. I live my life. I deal with my struggles. I deal with my challenges. I deal with my achievements and whatever else. I've never had them affect my day. Ever. Ever. Even Clinton, when he raised minimum wage, even now with minimum wage going to be raised to $15, at least in New York City, not in the state, but at least New York City, that does not affect my day because all the prices go up based on that. Rent still goes up. Cigarettes still go up. All my vices still get raised based on my $15.
There's only one way you can provably show Trump's affecting the economy. Because, of course, if you look at the economy and Trump taking credit for it, he's basically saying, well, if I wasn't president, all the trajectory of the economy under Obama would have inexplicably and for no reason
just
plummeted.
pummeled. Yeah.
Right.
Not gone in the same exact trajectory it already was. Like every economist in 2015 was saying whoever wins is going to have a windfall of a very positive economy. Everyone knew this was going to happen. He's just a pathological liar. I mean, yeah.
And that's how it happens. If you paid attention in school, I remember learning that when I was a kid, when it was like, I remember it was like Bill Clinton was like the economy, we had to try to rebuild, but it's like, that's not his fault. And just if you have half of a fucking brain, you go, okay, so whatever you start with when you become the president, that's the leftovers of the last person
president.
who was
but
in
only,
there.
but only in the beginning. Whereas Bill Clinton had 8 years of extreme recovery.
Right.
So it's really hard to say that he didn't help the economy because at the end of 8 years, we had the best economy we've had. I mean, we were reducing the deficit comparatively.
But internet
Well, he
bubble. I mean, there
balanced
were
I'm
some
saying
bubbles.
I'm not saying it was because of him, but you know what? The internet bubble was because of Al Gore.
Yeah.
And I know people like to think of that as like something horrible to say, but it was called the Gore Bill for a reason.
Right.
The Gore Bill created the internet.
Right.
Yes.
And people who deny that are just ignorant or just lying because it's convenient. To
Fake
do so.
news.
Right.
Well,
Well, yeah, Bill Clinton was in there for long enough
People
so that he
believe
was
that-
able to like do his
Right.
own
And
shit.
at the
same
right
with
time.
Obama. Obama was responsible with the economy.
Mhm.
There's only
It's
one
like Jordan
example.
in the NBA. Him coming in at 84 was the perfect time. He
Yeah.
comes in 2 years later, 2 years before. He is not the Jordan we know now. Clinton came in at the perfect time.
There's only one current example of a president provably and objectively affecting the economy or some kind of price, and that is the fact that gas went up because Trump pulled out of the Iran deal. We were buying oil from Iran, now we're not, so gas costs more.
Mhm.
Plain and simple. The only people,
Well, also the
only person who
tariffs.
benefits from that is Saudi Arabia and Russia.
The tariffs are also.
But we haven't seen an exact effect in the economy yet for that. These are all things that are so complicated that it's very hard to nail down. But the gas thing is unquestionable.
Right.
Gas went up because we got one less supplier.
Because I
Dude,
know
I
that,
love
like,
you. I love
goods-
you right now with pants off. I would love to see you do
Well,
comedy
he
with
doesn't have
pants off.
shoes on either.
Yeah, I would. I love your confidence
I
right now.
get
It's
my
so
pants
great.
off.
It's so great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No,
Love
but
it.
I think with the tariffs, like definitely I've seen certain goods, and I'm like, and my day job, I'm in a manufacturing environment, so like I know that a lot of our raw materials have already gone up, and these next few seasons are probably going to be more expensive because of the tariffs. Like even things that I buy certain things like personally from manufacturers in China, and things that I bought 6 months ago are already like maybe 15-20% more expensive than
Oh,
they were
really?
6 months ago.
And you
Yeah.
know what
Yeah.
blunts the people who are paying more for those products? You know what makes them feel better about that? Deep down, the people who are supportive of this administration, what they're really saying is, well, yeah, those products cost more, but they are dirty Chinese products. Like he's made all trade partners enemies.
Mm-hmm.
And that
Well,
we're supposed to be happy
a
that
girl likes custom hair, and if we did it in America cheaper,
Oh, is that where I was going to ask
Yeah.
which product it was
Yeah,
specifically
yeah.
where you've noticed it?
yeah. No, it's hair. It's hair.
I only buy American flags made in America. So the tariffs I haven't noticed. I'm dressed in an American flag. I buy them. They're all made in Vermont, and I put them on as clothes.
I like custom color. I like custom. I'm a big girl. I gotta have big girl hair. Not buying this off the rack shit.
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's great. That's hilarious to me.
yeah, I think
Dave's like, I'm gonna move this along. But now I have a
do you not
question, Dave.
concentrate on black girls' hair? Is that
Oh, you always had to squeeze it in. So now, Dave.
did you not say you were black during that whole thing? You
No,
said-
I just said I got custom hair. I didn't specifically say I was
I
black.
think
I can be
people figured it out from the fact you had to buy your hair.
white girls buy hair.
Name one.
Jeez.
Any white girl that has
I-
long hair,
I bought wigs, but it was never custom hair, but I got like nice wigs.
right? But like, I mean, have you ever gotten extensions?
No.
Yeah,
Like-
exactly. What white girl do you know with extensions?
Cat
Like
Reinhardt.
literally,
Lots of white girls. I've just, my friend just got 'em.
yeah, seriously, like a lot of white
Lots
girls
of
have
white
it.
girls get it.
And
And it's not just about the color of your skin. Sometimes it's about the disease in your cells. If you have cancer, you also need to get good hair.
right,
These
That's wigs. We're
boys.
talking about extensions.
Okay.
yeah,
just-
but like literally, like actresses and like performers, they all have extensions.
I know.
I'm sure you know people personally that have extensions that are not sitting in this room. But
She's alluding
Rob
to my-
Ryan.
Yeah, she's alluding
Fucking Rob Ryan
to my
in,
most famous friends.
in here
You know.
swinging his ponytail
No,
around.
Exactly.
oh, what's the question?
okay,
What are your-
so
yeah.
now, Dave,
Yeah.
my question would be: is that would you say that these new what are they, anons in the Trump world now, that they're equal to the crazies
I mean,
of Zuccotti?
QAnons?
Yeah, QAnons.
Oh no. I would never ever assign people in Occupy. I think Occupy, most people were very well meaning, and I think that there were. When I say crazy people, I mean that those were like every city has them, and they just are going to go to whatever the big thing going on is. QAnons are a very specifically dangerous subset of the mentally ill, which is conspiracy theorists that focus on that believe in that the Alex Jones side, they're basically just InfoWars, except that a
boy.
lot of them think that Alex Jones is a CIA operative. As when I interviewed
Oh,
guys
wow.
like Rooster,
Shit.
What?
I'm in trouble.
when Rooster was the creator of the Boston bombing conspiracy, and I asked him about Alex Jones, and he felt Alex Jones was a, quote, proven CIA operative. So I think QAnon,
Wow.
what we're seeing is
Yeah, it's like
people
yeah.
who
See, I'm in
believe-
trouble.
people who believe in conspiracy theories that are so obviously created by right-wing propaganda creators that it's such sadly simplistic that it's designed to say, well, look, there's a lot of poor white people out there and the culture wars are being lost. We can't get them to vote against their own against their own self-interest based on homophobia and racism as much anymore. So now we need to just convince them that Democrats have child sex rings and in pizza places and that have you seen what QAnon actually believe?
Well, I know
It's like Roseanne.
it's like an extension of the Pizzagate people.
Yeah.
And they think that various actors and politicians are all pedophiles.
The ones who criticize Trump, yes.
Right.
Ones who criticize the Republican Party.
And they believe, I think that there was they think that there's some facility in like Arizona that is like some sort of like
And it's all-
pedophilia ring or
because
something.
one sad basement-dwelling nobody just told them, I work for the government, and I'm going to give you all hints as to what's happening. And they fucking believe
Is that
him.
where all that
But-
stuff came from? Because
Yes.
I've been doing
One guy on QAnon.
Q.
Is that okay? Fine.
Yeah, Q is
Right.
the
Yeah,
one.
oh yeah, the guy.
Okay.
The guy is
It's
Q.
just a guy who just told people, I work for the government. Let me say, I've had a lot of people tell me they work for the government. They're always schizophrenic.
Yeah.
Every single fucking time.
Well, that's
But this
impressive.
is the one thing that
Because
like
otherwise they wouldn't fucking tell me, would they?
I know. See, and
So,
that's
like-
how and that's why I believe everyone that does not explicitly come up and tell me they're part of the government is a CIA operative.
Makes sense.
And
Right.
see, now
Yeah.
I'm not crazy.
yeah, no,
So-
that just
So like a year
I do
ago-
not trust Caleb at all.
Like about a year ago,
no one does.
I was doing a show in Long Island, and it was a very big benefit show.
Right.
And it had two other comedians on, both bigger names than me, but we were like the three of the four comics on the show. The other one was like the host, but it was me, and then two very big name comics, and I was surprised to see them because I knew them both as the two most pro-Trump comedians in New York.
Hmm.
And I also knew, the only other thing I knew about them, because I knew them personally, was that they were both, at least according to multiple people I know, problem drinkers. So they're talking about Trump, and I'm being respectful. I'm not trying to have a fight here. And this show, by the way, was like the audience was mostly cops.
Right.
That explains
All
this.
Trump
the
people.
worst. Ah.
And I did well, like just
wants to
by
entertain
being like,
them.
okay, I'm gonna do the. I didn't know until I was on stage. And by the way, this is how I knew that I had to do a certain kind of act. The
Ah,
guy said,
fucking
the guy read my intro wrong and said he was a writer for SNL, Triumph the Dog. Triumph the Dog got a big applause, which never happens. And then he says, and a writer for Joy Behar.
Oh.
And they all booed loudly.
Wow.
And then I walked and I said, okay, I should explain. I was a writer for Triumph the Insult Comic Dog roasting Joy Behar. And then they liked me again.
And then they all pulled their guns out and shot in the air, and I was like, there seems
Who brought all the Albanians?
So one of the comedians backstage, we're talking,
Wow.
and he explains his theory about the Mueller investigation. And he goes, I think the Mueller investigation was I think that Trump authorized Mueller to do the investigation not because there was any Russian collusion. I think Mueller is actually purposely pretending to investigate Russian collusion as a way of investigating Hillary Clinton's ties to Russia, but he knows that the government would never allow him to do that because of the deep state. So they have to pretend this is about Trump's collusion, and then at the end of it, they're going to turn in an explanation of that this was always about Clinton. And
So what exactly is the deep
let me,
state?
Let me explain. This person I was talking to,
I'm not surprised.
Oh, I think I know what this is.
yeah, you know exactly who it is.
Yeah.
And
No
when he said
shit.
this to me, I remember thinking like, wow, I used to really respect you.
I think I know who you're talking
You
about, and
used
you're
to
a
be
bigger
too.
comic
You
than
used
he
to.
is.
No, I'm not.
No,
You
it's
used
not,
to be-
No, it's not him.
Oh,
I was like, you used
I
to
think
Yeah,
I know
I
what
thought-
you're talking about.
was
I
talking to this
thought
guy,
I
and I'm
knew
thinking,
until
you
now.
used to be
Yeah.
a person I respected.
I
as
think
a
I know what you're
comedian,
talking about.
And I'm saying,
No shit.
and when he said that, I was like, I remember thinking like, dude, you really need help.
No shit.
You legitimately
With a
have
drinking problem?
yes.
Okay,
You have
I think
a-
I know what you're
you
talking
have a
about.
cognitive
No shit.
disorder.
No shit.
Because that, and honestly, like, I'm not trying to do this as like an enemy. I don't want to identify the guy.
No,
It's
I
just the
get
fact
it.
that, like,
We'll talk
I
about
was-
it off air.
It's
I
Rob
was
Ryan.
So
Yeah. This goddamn distracted me. He lulled me into his beliefs with his ponytail.
Callback.
I
Great
was
callback.
so horrified that this, because to me, this wasn't about Trump anymore. This was about you need help.
Right.
You have a cognitive disorder. If you think that makes sense.
But see, I'm a person that, like, for example, the news, I feel, is very fear-mongering.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So, like, for example, you said a thing about, like, people that think Alex Jones, the CIA operative. I tend to think he works for the government in some way, in my opinion. He's a fear-mongering. I think he does. I think
I
he
don't think that's
plays
possible.
to those people, and he's supposed to be that card.
I think he's exactly what we think he is. He's
I think he's the
he's
white
a
Sharpton.
charlatan. He's a charlatan. He's much worse than Sharpton, but he is.
But
I
I mean, like,
he's
to
just
kind
a,
of
he's just a line guy. He's just a line greedy guy who thinks he found the every mark on the planet, and he's right.
But see, I think he's
Yeah.
supposed to be that guy.
yeah, because I'm gonna
That's my
agree with
opinion.
I
Tim
don't
on
think the
this
government
because
wants him
I
to be
feel
no,
like.
No.
the government
Yeah.
does not want him. The
I-
government does not want him.
Oh,
But
yes,
like
they
people
do.
would say the government
Stupid.
doesn't want Sharpton either.
The only
Sharpton's
way a
been on the payroll for like
dictatorship
30 years.
thrives is if you keep a country divided 50-50.
Exactly,
So
divide
you
and conquer.
need a guy like him to keep the country divided.
There's
I'm
not
not
a-
saying he's right,
Oh yeah,
but
Yeah.
you need
He's
someone
on a
like
payroll.
him. Yeah, I think.
I agree.
I think
I'm like
that's
I'm
crazy.
gonna I'm definitely.
and I drink a lot, but I do.
Cheers, Tim. Treat.
Yeah,
I just
I
heard
do. I
there
do
you go.
think that. I
But,
do
like,
think
no,
he
I
is.
agree because I feel like Sharpton has been on the payroll for at least 30 years,
I
and
agree.
Sharpton would be the polar opposite of an Alex Jones. And so I think that in your divide and conquer lines, yeah. Do I mean I don't think that he's like, you know, the director of the CIA or something, but I
Right.
think that he's like a paid informant or something.
Yes.
No, I think that's absolutely ridiculous.
I think he's
that's-
paid to put out.
Do you believe
the
that
shit.
Sharpton works for the government?
Do I believe that Al Sharpton's political motivations are because the government is telling him to be out there? Al Sharpton hasn't been divisive in 20 years.
Yeah.
Al Sharpton hasn't been.
I mean, if
when
you're a
Al
white
Sharpton
person in
was
middle
that
America,
was 30 years
just
ago.
if you're a white person in middle America, Al Sharpton is divisive every day. The fact that Al Sharpton exists is divisive.
Well,
But
the
only
only problem I
because-
have with him is that selfie he posted. Did you see that? He was like, he's been working out. He got very skinny. He's posting lots of selfies.
He
Al
looks a
Sharpton
little
is
AIDS-y. I'm
Al
just saying.
Sharpton
Yes.
is divisive because he was divisive. He was divisive in the 80s and 90s. That was what he was like, and then he changed his act and he became a more respectable politician. You don't have to love the guy. I don't love him either. But people hate him because he is a lightning rod for the hatred of black people in this country. That's why people hate him. Not because of something he's done lately. He's hated because he did make mistakes, but then he became this example that represents the racist notion of the
But how does
lazy
Alex-
welfare queen, tracksuit wearing, gold chain wearing huckster. He
But like, how
became-
does Alex Jones not represent the ignorant, rednecked, drug addicted, like
You don't need the government to
racist,
make that happen.
Trailer
sexist,
park.
Right, he does.
bullshit,
Yeah.
He
trailer
does.
park
He
trash?
just doesn't do
that
what the government wants him to.
is
Right.
you know, like, to me, I think that Alex Jones represents to people on the left everything they think is wrong with the Rust Belt, white people, Republicans.
I don't think that's
think
it
that
at all. He represents mental illness in this country.
Yeah.
He represents the burgeoning idea that schizophrenics are no longer isolated. They talk to each other on the internet, and now instead of having them
I
be a
think that's
percentage of
Jordan
populations-
Peterson.
Jordan Peterson is just a
Ooh.
sad intellectual
Ooh.
who tries to, who just hates women and is trying to make
Yeah.
make a world safe for women hating.
Okay, I
men's
can't
clubs.
argue that.
He's just a sad
Yeah.
bullshit.
I
Alex
just
Jones is
wanted
crazy.
I just wanted to bring that up
Alex Jones
just because, like, I don't know, you know, you
But
put
I
out you
know
put out
Alex
your
Jones is for
opinions.
over 20 years.
Yeah.
You put out your opinions, and I didn't want to sit here and be like, because there's people that
No,
know
I
me,
agree.
whatever else. So yeah, I do think that even after your arguments, I still think he's some kind of entity of, it's a small minute, but I do think his whole fucking deal, there's some kind of
Even Silk and
force-fed.
Diamond were paid for by Trump at some point, which you could argue that they were paid for by the government. Like, I think that
if Stormy Daniels can get money from the government,
Right.
For
Well, she didn't
there's
get-
no
She
reason.
got money from Trump.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
that's the government.
Well, it
There's
wasn't
no
at the time
reason.
He paid her in 2011.
But okay.
He's the government now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But, like,
There's
he
there's
was
no
government- Yeah,
reason
but 7
for
years
me.
later.
There's
Right.
no reason for me to think. I mean, when
Right,
Alex
that-
Jones
but that-
she got
when
paid
Alex Jones started,
right
he may
before
not
he
have been
got
paid by
elected.
the government, but I do think now,
Yeah.
as things have
No,
gone
I
on
agree.
and he got
I
heat,
agree.
yeah.
Well, that's not to be whatever because I've been hospitalized for bipolar disorder and I've been diagnosed as possibly with a touch of schizophrenia. And so I like to get into all this, but the scary thing is that it's like I think it's fun to like think about these things and you go, okay, and you can kind of
You got to go on with your day.
Well, but the not to be like sound like but like it's a slippery slope because unless you like you were saying with money, right?
Yeah.
It's an illusion. I'm like, okay, yes, that's how that's how it works. So but then from there now there's a choice. So then if I have a problem with it, find like a way to problem solve, or do I just get really mad and frustrated and just bang on the
Right.
bars of my jail, or do I go, okay, I'm going to be calm, and now that I understand the system, how do I work it to get out, right?
Yeah,
so
I
those
don't-
are two different things. But here's what I'm saying. Here's the other
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
is to look at someone like an Al Sharpton or an Alex Jones, right? Just from a psychological, like to be mentally healthy, to look at them and be like, they could be being paid by the government. That would make sense. But then you go like, okay, but they also could just be crazy people. And so, but what happens is that if we start entertaining one or two ideas, and when I was hospitalized, I thought people were chasing me and I called the cops because I thought people were breaking into my home.
Right.
And it started with just slowly like, oh, I got like a weird look, and you can find once you start looking for like clues, air quotes, clues and like
Right.
hints to the puzzle, and you can see behind the wall. Once you start going down that rabbit hole, it just like be careful, everybody, because one little thing where you're like, oh, the government's paying them, and then it's like, but if you entertain that idea too much or get too invested in it, other than going like, or they could, but to say they might be being paid by the government, okay, or maybe they're just crazy people because Alex Jones, I know, has to like do ads for protein powder and shit. So like.
He's a snake oil.
You know, and it's
Yeah,
like,
I don't
and
the
disagree with
government
you.
doesn't pay well.
but then not to sound like an asshole, but like, okay, so either of those scenarios are true. How does that affect your daily life?
I think if
I
Alex
guess the
Jones
better
was being
way-
paid by the government, he would have told us.
The better
Right.
way to say it is if you were to force me to bet if Alex Jones is being paid,
Yeah.
I would put money on it. I don't
You're
disagree.
not sure.
I
Right.
don't disagree with anything you're saying. But if I were to put the over, I would bet the over
I get it.
on
Yeah.
that.
I understand. I
I
respect
If
believe
I
that there's
had
I
to.
understand why there is.
But
reason you might think
but
that.
I don't place, just like the news, anything. I don't place any money on it. You know, I
it's
take
all
it for
bullshit.
what-
We're probably in a
Exactly.
This is a simulation anyway, guys. That's
Right.
why
Yeah.
I'm so fucking laid back about everything.
Yeah, this is all
There's-
make believe. We're
There's
all
a
in La La
balance in the
Land.
world, and I feel like if there's a balance, if you can identify that there is a character or person that is paid for the government that sets off the right, then there's got to be a person paid by the government that sets off the left. And
Right.
so, just from the pure idea of
But that doesn't
a
exist,
yin
though.
and the
But
yang,
none of those exist. Those are all just completely.
You can't say they
Imagine
don't
things.
exist.
Because there's no left and no right. It's all one big circle, and they're all just trying
And
to
they're all
get our
jerking
money.
off.
And by money, I mean points
Wait,
in this
but
video
that-
game.
like-
Now that's schizophrenia.
I love
But
Dave. I love everything you're saying.
Yeah.
But to say that it doesn't exist is a strong statement.
Yeah.
The possibility that it doesn't, okay.
yeah, but we already
But to
know
say
that
that it
Sharpton
doesn't, I
was
don't know
paid
about
for
that.
by the like.
Okay,
We
that
already
is an
know that.
extremely dishonest way of putting it. He was a paid informant for a drug dealer. That is nothing comparable to the idea that he's supposed to make conservatives angry and racist on purpose. He was a paid informant for. That's millions of people have been paid informants for the government to try to
But
catch
does he
coke
make
dealers.
conservatives angry because they're racist?
Yeah.
Okay, so now that you've
But he was
But
paid.
why
But what
can't-
was he
wait,
paid for? Hold on, because I
seriously,
didn't know
what
this.
are we saying
What
here?
was he paid for the government to do? What?
He was a paid informant to catch a coke dealer.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
20-something years ago.
Yeah.
but
It.
And by
But-
cool, I mean
Yeah, like
bad
late
news.
80s.
'cause
but like if
drugs
you're
are-
on the
80s, early
hook for the
90s.
government, like
Yeah.
you're on the hook for the government, like you literally are their bitch.
I just think the idea that the government pays people to be divisive is one of the craziest things I've ever heard. I think the idea that the government has a payroll of divisive politicians saying we need people to stay mad and angry, that's what Russia does.
Oh,
That's not what we do. Because it doesn't help
That's
us.
where I disagree
it
with
doesn't
you.
help our system. It doesn't really help get people elected to have Alex Jones out there.
But like we literally have Putin's puppy in our White House right now. You don't think that the government is running on any sort of parallel to Russian politics right now?
Not to ourselves. We might be doing it to other countries because that's what you do. You
But what did
destabilize-
we do to ourselves?
We don't you don't destabilize your own
This is
country.
great.
Yeah.
But at the same
This is
time,
great.
by the way, I want to point out, you mentioned schizophrenia.
Yes.
The reason schizophrenics are so often conspiracy theorists is because the way schizophrenia works, it's the opposite of depression. When you have depression, chemically, nothing matters. It makes you believe that nothing matters. When you have
Okay.
schizophrenia, you have the exact opposite chemical imbalance in the other direction, and now everything, quote, means something.
Yep.
So-
Okay.
So, when you have that specific kind of mental problem, you can't accept coincidences. You can't accept little details that are errant.
He believes in
Everything has to be
coincidence.
everything has to be part of an overall structure.
Right.
I don't want to. Are there
Throw
any,
it down.
Are there any conspiracies that you favor at all,
ones
Dave?
that make sense.
Like for example,
selling cocaine from Nicaragua to pay for the wars that Congress wouldn't pay for.
Okay.
That makes
Okay.
perfect sense.
Okay.
There's nothing weird about that.
Yeah.
But like the major ones that are hashtag mainstream.
Well, what are the major conspiracies?
Jesus.
But is there a single one that does not serve right-wing propaganda right now? Is there a single conspiracy out there that is not clearly made up to tell people, and that's why you should love Donald Trump? Is there one? Is there a single anti-Donald Trump conspiracy? Because all of them seem to be serving, they all seem to have the same purpose right now. To
Interesting.
get you to pretend
Yeah, but
that
even
Donald Trump
throughout
is not
time.
a fucking idiot.
But even throughout time.
Well, yeah, I mean, JFK could have been. I don't know, but
Okay.
that's not a crazy thing.
So
to
like
think that he kinda
I'll
killed him.
say like
Right.
I'm
when
talking about today, the kind of bullshit
So-
Roseanne is pushing about.
all right,
Obama.
like going to the Roseanne thing. Now these like I read a little bit about these QAnons. And so they were kind of talking about how there are
This is great.
facilities in Arizona that
I'm
have
so
sex
happy.
trafficking and child pornography
Yeah.
and that they're run by the liberals.
Yeah.
Now, what I'll say is I've also read an article recently that there are immigration facilities in Arizona that the children that are immigrants that have been pulled away from and separated from their parents are getting sexually abused.
Yeah, that's not a conspiracy. That's literally
That's
common
fact.
sense. We all knew
So-
that was going to happen.
Yeah.
So now let's just say, for instance, though, that Q drops this in 4chan or 8chan that there are facilities in Arizona that children are being molested and it's done by the liberals.
Me
But
too.
in all actuality, these are facilities in Arizona that children are being molested that are actually immigrants that have been separated from their parents.
Can I explain the difference between those?
But I'm just saying is that there are children that are being molested in Arizona in a facility,
Yeah.
but because that the 4chan, 8chan crew is so anti-liberal that they are pinning the abusers on a liberal ideology.
But they've
when
created
it's
this conspiracy
actually-
long before this happened.
But that's why like Chris
conspiracy-
Cornell and fucking Lincoln Park died.
yeah, exactly.
I
exactly.
Like
thought that was
there's that
heroin.
story. No, there's that story.
Wait, what is that?
Hillary Clinton
Okay.
killed him. Body count.
They think
Okay,
all celebrity
real
deaths
quick,
are murder.
real
Hillary's
quick.
my bottom bitch.
Cornell, what's his name? The blonde haired kid from Lincoln Park. I don't remember his name.
No one knows his name. just
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
It
Cornell and
starts
him.
with
Chester?
one thing. I
Cornell,
don't know
yeah,
why.
Chester. You're
Really?
right.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it
Fuck
is.
Yeah.
Chester
So
Bennington?
yes, thank you.
Nice.
So Chester Bennington and Chris Cornell, like I think one of them, either way, were godfathers of one of their children. Cornell apparently died suicide, and the same with Bennington. And the reasoning was because those two were going to come out and talk about how much Hollywood and the music industry fucking finagle kids in and butt fuck them and whatever else.
Right,
like
right.
they run a whole industry. So that's why they were taken out.
Yeah,
That's
no, it's
one of
a-
the conspiracies.
I get it.
I don't know if it's true.
But you
I
know
don't.
it's
I
a-
know nothing.
But how is Corey Feldman still alive then?
You know, it's another. But you know, it's another.
Well, that's why they took out Haim.
Here's
No.
I've
To keep him quiet.
I've interviewed a lot of these extreme right wing conspiracy.
Yeah,
people,
yeah,
and
yeah.
They always kind of just say the argument is, well, what else could have done blank? And it's like, well, you just have a lack of imagination. Here's how those two guys could have died so close together. They had the same dealer,
Yeah.
Right.
so they have a bad product.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, just like when Brittany Murphy and her husband both died, like within weeks of each other. It's like, well, clearly something killed them both.
Right.
Either their heroin or drug addiction, or
But
just
you
black
think,
mold, whatever
but
it
you
was.
think Courtney Love would have the same dealer as Kurt?
Right.
Right. Well, Kurt, unfortunately had stomach problems.
He
did. I mean, I don't
No,
think-
he did.
No, Kurt
He
blew
did.
Kurt probably blew his own brains out, unless El Duce did it. That's not the hardest. That's not the hardest conspiracy to believe. It's just one drunken guy shooting somebody.
He had stomach problems. What happened? He had 2 bullets right through the middle of his body.
No, he didn't.
It's right through his stomach.
If you listen, all I'm saying is, if you think Kurt Cobain was murdered, listen to Pennyroyal Tea, and you know you're right, and tell me that guy didn't kill himself.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we need to take a quick break.
Oh, this is great.
This is awesome.
And I still think Kurt was murdered.
No, he might have been,
It
but not by the fucking government.
Hey, yo, that's...
It was Alex Jones.
wait,
Or-
Alex Jones killed Kurt.
Or who's the name we Ryan
Ryan.
Roby? Rob Ryan.
Rob Ryan.
Rob
It was
Ryan
Rob
did
Ryan.
it.
All right, allegedly. All right, allegedly, you guys. We will be right back.